Hey everyone, welcome to Pine Hat. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I want to argue that Dipper Pines represents one of the most carefully constructed coming-of-age narratives in modern animation by examining how his character arc across Gravity Falls 2 seasons systematically deconstructs and rebuilds the concept of growing up, while simultaneously exploring themes of identity, trust, obsession, and the painful realization that the answers we seek might not be the answers we need. So settle in, get comfortable. This is going to be a long one, and that's exactly the point. We're going to trace every step of Dipper's journey, from the moment he arrived in that strange Oregon town to the final heartbreaking goodbye that left an entire generation of viewers emotionally compromised. Let's start at the very beginning. Dipper Pines, born Mason Pines, is 12 years old when we first meet him. He's sitting on a bus next to his twin sister Mabel, heading to a place called Gravity Falls, Oregon, to spend the summer with their great uncle, a man they've never been particularly close to. Right from the opening moments, we understand something crucial about Dipper. He's not excited about this trip. While Mabel bounces with enthusiasm, ready to embrace whatever adventure awaits, Dipper is reserved, skeptical, perhaps even a little resentful. He didn't choose to come here. This summer was chosen for him. This initial reluctance is important because it establishes Dipper's character before any supernatural elements enter the picture. He's a kid who feels out of place. A kid who probably feels out of place most of the time, actually. He's intellectual in a world that doesn't always reward intellect. He's curious in environments that prefer conformity. He's serious in situations that demand levity. The name Dipper itself tells us something. It's a nickname, derived from the Big Dipper-shaped birthmark on his forehead. His real name, Mason, is rarely used. This detail, revealed much later in the series, suggests a boy who has already begun constructing an identity separate from the one he was given. He's not Mason. He's Dipper. He's already reinventing himself even before the story begins. When the twins arrive at the Mystery Shack, we're introduced to their summer home. It's a tourist trap, a ramshackle building covered in fake attractions and questionable merchandise, run by their grunkle Stan. Stanley Pines is a con man, a showman, someone who makes his living selling lies to gullible tourists. For Dipper, this environment is initially disappointing. He expected something. He's not sure what, but not this. Not a rundown shack full of obviously fake exhibits. Not a great uncle who seems more interested in making a quick buck than in connecting with his family. But Gravity Falls has secrets, and Dipper is exactly the kind of person who finds secrets. The inciting incident of the entire series occurs when Dipper discovers a mysterious journal hidden in the forest. This journal, marked with a golden six-fingered hand and the number 3, contains detailed documentation of supernatural creatures and phenomena in Gravity Falls. Someone was here before. Someone investigated this town's mysteries. Someone wrote everything down. And then they disappeared. This discovery transforms Dipper's summer. What was going to be a boring few months in a nowhere town becomes the most important period of his young life. He has purpose now. He has mystery. He has something that his analytical mind can sink into. But here's what's crucial to understand about Dipper's relationship with the journal. It's not purely intellectual curiosity. It's personal validation. Dipper has probably spent his whole life feeling like his interests don't matter, like his need to understand things, to categorize and analyze and investigate is somehow lesser than other pursuits. And now he's found proof that someone else thought these things mattered. Someone else took the supernatural seriously. Someone else was like him. The journal becomes more than a research tool. It becomes a lifeline. It becomes identity. And as we'll see throughout the series, this attachment to the journal, and later to its author, drives some of Dipper's best moments and some of his worst mistakes. The first episode, Tourist Trapped, establishes the show's formula while introducing us to Dipper's investigative methods. When Mabel's new boyfriend turns out to be a group of gnomes disguised as a teenager, Dipper is the one who pieces together the clues. He's the one who consults the journal. He's the one who figures out what they're dealing with. But he's not the one who saves the day. That honor goes to Mabel, who defeats the gnomes with a leaf blower while Dipper watches. This dynamic, Dipper investigating while Mabel acts, establishes a partnership that will define the series. It also establishes something else. Dipper isn't the traditional hero. He's not the strongest. He's not the bravest in the physical sense. His power is knowledge, understanding, pattern recognition. But knowledge alone doesn't defeat monsters. You need someone willing to pick up the leaf blower. As the first season progresses, we watch Dipper accumulate experiences that shape his worldview. Each episode brings new creatures, new mysteries, new dangers, and through each adventure, Dipper learns something about Gravity Falls and something about himself. Let's trace Dipper's development through the early episodes of Season 1, examining how each adventure adds layers to his character. The Legend of the Gobblewonker is the third episode, and it's essential for understanding Dipper's priorities. When Old Man McGucket claims to have seen a sea monster in the lake, Dipper immediately wants to investigate. He sees an opportunity. If he can photograph the creature, he'll have proof of the supernatural. He'll have validation. He'll be taken seriously. But there's a conflict. Grunkle Stan wants to take the kids fishing, not monster hunting. Fishing. A boring, normal activity that Dipper has no interest in. Dipper chooses the monster hunt. He drags Mabel along, abandoning Stan for the more exciting option. And here's where the episode gets interesting. The monster is fake. It's a robot built by McGucket. There is no Gobblewonker. Dipper's obsessive pursuit led nowhere. Meanwhile, the fishing trip with Stan represented something real. Connection, family, the boring, unglamorous work of building relationships. The episode ends with the twins joining Stan for fishing after all, and it's genuinely nice. But the lesson lingers. Dipper's obsession with mystery almost cost him something more valuable. This tension between investigation and connection will recur throughout the series. The Hand That Rocks the Mabel introduces Gideon Gleeful, who becomes one of the show's recurring antagonists. But more importantly, for Dipper's arc, this episode shows him being protective of Mabel in a way that will define their relationship. When Gideon becomes obsessed with Mabel and refuses to accept her rejection, Dipper steps in. He tries to protect his sister from someone who won't take no for an answer. This protective instinct is admirable, but the episode also shows its limits. Dipper can't actually stop Gideon. He tries, but Gideon has resources, has powers, has advantages that Dipper can't match. It's Mabel who ultimately has to reject Gideon herself. Dipper can support her, but he can't fight her battles for her. This lesson about the limits of protection will become painfully relevant later in the series. The Inconveniencing is a pivotal episode for Dipper's social development. When Wendy, the teenage cashier at the Mystery Shack, invites the twins to hang out with her older friends, Dipper is thrilled. He has a crush on Wendy, an obvious, painful, completely understandable crush. The episode takes them to an abandoned convenience store that turns out to be haunted. While the supernatural threat is real, the more important story is Dipper trying to fit in with teenagers while being obviously younger and less cool. There's a moment when Dipper has to admit his real age. He's been pretending to be 13 to impress Wendy's friends, and the lie is exposed. It's humiliating. It's the kind of small social death that feels enormous when you're 12. But Wendy doesn't care. She thinks Dipper is cool regardless of his age. The episode suggests that authenticity matters more than posturing, that the people worth impressing are the people who like you for who you are. Dipper's crush on Wendy is a thread that runs through the entire series, and it's handled with remarkable nuance. The show never mocks Dipper for having feelings. It never treats his crush as pathetic or laughable. It treats it as what it is, a genuine emotion experienced by someone too young to know how to handle it. Dipper versus Manliness confronts Dipper's insecurities about masculinity directly. When Dipper fails to perform feats of strength at a local diner, he becomes obsessed with becoming more manly. He seeks out the Manitors, a group of hypermasculine creatures living in the forest, hoping they can teach him to be the man he thinks he should be. The Manitors put Dipper through ridiculous trials. They teach him to punch, to growl, to suppress his emotions. And Dipper goes along with it, desperate for their approval. But the final test requires Dipper to kill a magical creature called the Multi-Bear, whose only crime is liking a pop song that the Manitors consider unmanly. Dipper refuses. He won't kill an innocent creature just to prove his masculinity. The Manitors reject him. They call him weak. They tell him he'll never be a man. And then Dipper goes back to the Mystery Shack where Stan tells him something important. Being a man means standing up for what's right, even when others disagree. Dipper already did that. He already proved himself. This episode is crucial for Dipper's development because it shows him actively rejecting toxic definitions of masculinity. He could have killed the Multi-Bear. He could have earned the Manitor's respect. Instead, he chose compassion over approval. That's character growth that will serve him throughout the series. Double Dipper explores Dipper's need for control. When he clones himself to execute an elaborate plan to dance with Wendy at a party, the clones develop their own personalities and eventually rebel against the original Dipper. The episode is comedic, but the underlying theme is serious. Dipper's desire to control outcomes leads to chaos. He can't micromanage his way to success. He can't plan for every variable. Sometimes you have to trust the moment, trust yourself, trust that things will work out even without a perfect strategy. The episode also explores identity. The clones are Dipper, but they're also not Dipper. They have his memories, his personality, his desires, but they're separate beings with their own experiences. What makes someone who they are? Is it nature, nurture, or something else entirely? These philosophical questions are presented lightly, but they resonate. Dipper confronts multiple versions of himself and has to reconcile what that means. In a show that will later deal heavily with identity and self, this episode plants important seeds. Irrational Treasure reveals that the founder of Gravity Falls, Quentin Tremblay, was actually the 8th president of the United States, erased from history for being too silly. Dipper and Mabel discover this truth while being pursued by government agents. For Dipper, this episode reinforces his belief that official narratives can't be trusted. The government lies. History is manipulated. The truth is hidden from ordinary people. This skepticism toward authority will serve Dipper well when he faces larger conspiracies later. The episode also pairs Dipper and Mabel together as investigators, showing how their different approaches complement each other. Dipper follows logical chains of evidence. Mabel makes intuitive leaps. Together, they solve puzzles that neither could crack alone. The Time Traveler's Pig introduces Blendin Blandin, a time traveler from the future, and gives Dipper access to a time machine. When a series of events at the fair leads to both Wendy getting hurt and Mabel losing a pig she's bonded with, Dipper uses the time machine to try to fix things. But there's a catch: he can only save one outcome. Either Wendy doesn't get hurt and Mabel loses the pig, or Mabel keeps the pig and Wendy gets hurt. The timeline won't accommodate both. Dipper spends the episode trying to find a third option. He's convinced that if he's just clever enough, he can save both. He can have everything. He can beat the system. He can't. Eventually, Dipper has to choose, and he chooses Mabel's happiness over his own desire to impress Wendy. It costs him. The sacrifice is real, but he makes it because Mabel's happiness matters more to him than his own romantic hopes. This episode establishes something fundamental about Dipper. When pushed to his limits, he chooses his sister. every time, without exception. This loyalty will be tested repeatedly throughout the series, and Dipper will always ultimately choose Mabel. Fight Fighters brings a video game character to life when Dipper wants help confronting Robbie, Wendy's boyfriend. Rumble McSkirmish, the fighter, takes Dipper's request for help too literally and tries to actually destroy Robbie. The episode forces Dipper to confront his own jealousy and resentment. He doesn't actually want Robbie hurt. He just wants… what? Wendy? Validation? To not feel like he's losing? When Dipper admits the truth to Rumble, that there was no real crime, that he just wanted to win a competition for a girl's attention, Rumble is disgusted. In his video game morality, such petty motivations don't justify violence. Dipper has to clean up his mess. He has to face the consequences of letting jealousy guide his actions. And he has to accept that wanting something doesn't entitle him to it. Little Dipper explores the sibling dynamic when Dipper discovers a crystal that can change size. Insecure about being slightly shorter than Mabel, Dipper uses the crystal to make himself taller. The episode plays with power dynamics. When Dipper is bigger, he has advantage. When circumstances reverse and he becomes tiny, he's vulnerable. Size, the episode suggests, isn't just physical. It's a metaphor for power, for control, for the ways we try to gain advantage over others. The episode also shows Dipper's insecurity about being a twin. He and Mabel share everything, including a birthday. He's never quite been his own person. He's always been half of a pair. The desire to be taller, to be physically distinct, reflects a deeper desire to be individually recognized. Summerween is Gravity Falls' Halloween episode, despite being set in summer. The town celebrates a second Halloween because they love the holiday so much. Dipper, however, has plans to attend a party with Wendy instead of trick-or-treating with Mabel. This conflict, choosing teenage acceptance over childhood traditions, defines the episode. Dipper wants to grow up. He wants to be cool. He wants to leave behind the things that mark him as a kid. But when a monster called the Summerween Trickster threatens to eat them unless they collect enough candy, Dipper is forced to confront what he's willing to sacrifice for maturity. The episode's resolution comes when Dipper admits he still loves trick-or-treating. He still loves the childish things. He was pretending to be above them, to fit in with older kids, but the pretense was exhausting. The trickster, it turns out, just wanted to be loved. Just wanted someone to appreciate the rejected candy that formed his body. When Seuss eats the trickster's candy body with genuine enthusiasm, the creature is satisfied. The parallel is clear. Both the trickster and Dipper feared rejection. Both pretended to be something they weren't. Authenticity, the episode argues, is better than performance. Boss Mabel flips the script by putting Mabel in charge of the Mystery Shack while Stan goes on vacation. Dipper works under Mabel's management, and the experience is chaotic. For Dipper, the episode is a lesson in teamwork and humility. He's not naturally suited to Mabel's leadership style, but he adapts. He supports his sister even when her decisions seem questionable. The episode also shows that leadership is harder than it looks. Mabel struggles with the responsibility. The power she wanted turns out to be a burden. Dipper, watching from the sidelines, learns that the people in charge don't always have things figured out. Bottomless Pit is an anthology episode where characters tell stories while falling down a seemingly endless pit. Dipper's story involves a truth-telling device that forces everyone to speak only truth. For Dipper, who values honesty and knowledge, a world where everyone tells the truth seems ideal. But the episode shows the complications. Some truths are hurtful, some truths are better left unsaid. Complete honesty isn't the utopia Dipper imagined. This nuance is important for Dipper's development. He'll later face situations where the truth is complicated, where revealing everything isn't clearly the right choice. This episode plants the seed that truth and goodness aren't always synonyms. The deep end continues the Dipper-Wendy subplot. Dipper gets a job as a lifeguard specifically to spend time with Wendy, who works at the pool. His motivations are obvious and somewhat pathetic. The episode introduces Mermando, a merman trapped in the pool. Mabel befriends him and eventually helps him escape to the ocean, sacrificing her own potential romance. Dipper, meanwhile, spends the episode pursuing his crush without much success. But he watches Mabel make a selfless choice, giving up someone she cares about because it's right for them. The contrast is implicit. Mabel prioritizes others' needs, while Dipper prioritizes his own wants. Carpet Diem involves a body swap scenario when Dipper and Mabel fight over a newly discovered room in the shack. A magical carpet causes them to switch bodies, leading to comedic situations but also genuine insight. Being in Mabel's body, Dipper experiences her life. He learns that her apparent effortlessness takes work. Her optimism isn't naivety, it's a choice she makes daily. Her social ease comes from practice, not natural gift. Similarly, Mabel, in Dipper's body, learns about his anxieties, his constant overthinking, the weight of his insecurities. They understand each other better after the experience. This mutual understanding strengthens their bond. They're not just siblings, they're partners. And that partnership will be essential when larger threats emerge. Boys Crazy puts Dipper in an interesting position. When Mabel becomes obsessed with a boy band called Several Timers, Dipper discovers the band members are actually clones created to be perfect performers. He wants to expose the truth. But his motivations are complicated. Part of him wants to protect Mabel from deception. Part of him is just annoyed that she's ignoring him for a boy band. Part of him enjoys being right, proving that his skepticism was justified. The episode doesn't let Dipper off easy. His desire to expose the truth causes chaos. Being right isn't the same as being helpful. Sometimes people want their illusions, and destroying those illusions doesn't make you a hero. Land Before Swine focuses on Stan, but Dipper plays a supporting role that reveals his growing respect for his great uncle. When Waddles, Mabel's pig, is taken by a pterodactyl, the family ventures into a prehistoric underground world to rescue him. Dipper sees Stan in a new light during this adventure. Stan's toughness, his willingness to face danger for family, impresses Dipper. The con man has depths that Dipper hadn't appreciated. This shift in perception prepares Dipper for later revelations about Stan. He's learning that people are complicated, that first impressions don't tell the whole story, that even the people who disappoint you can also surprise you. Dreamscaperers is the first season's penultimate episode, and it changes everything. Gideon, desperate to steal the mystery shack from Stan, summons a demon named Bill Cipher. Bill is a triangle, a yellow, one-eyed triangle who exists in the mindscape, who can enter dreams, who has power beyond anything Dipper has encountered. This episode introduces the show's ultimate antagonist and establishes stakes that dwarf everything that came before. Bill isn't just another monster of the week, he's ancient, powerful, and genuinely terrifying. Dipper, Mabel, and Soos enter Stan's mind to stop Bill from stealing the combination to a safe. The journey through Stan's mindscape reveals layers of their great-uncle's psyche, his fears, his memories, his secrets. Dipper also gets his first direct interaction with Bill. The demon is charismatic, funny, seemingly friendly. He offers Dipper something tempting: answers. Bill knows things. He knows about the journals. He knows about the author. He could tell Dipper everything he wants to know. All Dipper has to do is help Bill. Just a little. Just this once. Dipper refuses. Despite his desperate desire for knowledge, despite Bill offering exactly what he's been seeking, Dipper recognizes that Bill can't be trusted. This refusal is crucial. It establishes that Dipper's desire for answers has limits. He won't compromise his ethics for knowledge. At least, not yet. Gideon Rises concludes Season 1 with Gideon successfully taking over the Mystery Shack. The Pines family is evicted. Everything Dipper has built over the summer seems lost, but the episode's most important moment comes when Dipper discovers that Journal 3 isn't unique. There are other journals, and Gideon has one of them. This revelation recontextualizes everything. The author didn't just document Gravity Falls mysteries. The author had a larger project. There's a bigger picture that Dipper can't yet see. The season ends with the family defeated, but not destroyed. They've lost the shack, but they have each other, and Dipper has a new mission: find the other journals, find the author, understand what's really going on. Before we continue into Season 2, let's pause and analyze what Season 1 establishes about Dipper's character. First, and most fundamentally, Dipper is defined by his need to understand. This isn't just curiosity, it's existential. Dipper feels uncertain about himself, about his place in the world, about his value. Knowledge is his way of gaining control over an uncertain universe. When Dipper holds the journal, he holds power. He knows things others don't. He can identify creatures, predict behaviors, solve mysteries. This knowledge gives him worth. Without it, he's just a scrawny 12-year-old with a weird birthmark. This relationship between knowledge and self-worth creates vulnerability. Dipper can be manipulated by anyone who offers answers. His hunger for understanding can override his judgment. We saw this briefly with Bill Cipher, and we'll see it much more dramatically in Season 2. Second, Dipper struggles with traditional masculinity. Dipper versus manliness made this explicit, but it runs throughout the season. Dipper isn't strong. He isn't aggressive. He isn't the kind of boy that conventional gender roles celebrate. The show validates Dipper's alternative masculinity. His intelligence is heroic. His compassion is strong. His refusal to hurt innocent creatures, even for approval, is brave. Gravity Falls argues that there are many ways to be a man, and Dipper's way is legitimate. Third, Dipper's relationship with Mabel is his anchor. Whenever he drifts too far into obsession or isolation, Mabel pulls him back. She represents connection, joy, the present moment. He represents analysis, caution, future planning. Together, they're balanced. Apart, they're incomplete. The show repeatedly puts this relationship under strain. Episodes force them to choose between their individual desires and their bond. And every time, ultimately, they choose each other. This pattern establishes trust that will be essential when the stakes rise. Fourth, Dipper has a complicated relationship with maturity. He wants to grow up. He wants to be taken seriously. He's embarrassed by childish things. But the show consistently suggests that abandoning childhood too quickly is a mistake. The Summerween episode made this explicit. Dipper's attempt to seem mature almost cost him something precious. His eventual acceptance that he still loves childish things was presented as growth, not regression. This theme will intensify in Season 2, when Dipper faces genuine choices about accelerating his development. The question of when and how to grow up becomes central to his arc. Fifth, Dipper is learning to question authority. The government lied about Quentin Tremblay. Grunkle Stan lies constantly. The surface narrative is rarely the complete truth. Dipper's skepticism is being validated. But the show also complicates this lesson. Not all authority is corrupt. Not all skepticism is warranted. Dipper will have to learn discernment, distinguishing between healthy questioning and paranoid rejection of everything. Sixth, Dipper met Bill Cipher and refused his offer. This refusal defines Dipper's ethical limits. He won't trade his integrity for knowledge. He won't make deals with demons. He won't become the kind of person who achieves his goals through corruption. This ethical foundation will be tested repeatedly. Bill doesn't give up easily, and Dipper's desire for answers doesn't diminish just because he refused once. Let's also consider what Season 1 establishes about the larger mystery. The journals exist, plural. Someone documented the supernatural phenomena of gravity falls across at least 3 volumes. That person disappeared. The journals were scattered and hidden. Bill Cipher is connected to this mystery. He knows about the author. He was potentially involved in whatever happened. His interest in the journals suggests they contain something he wants. Gravity Falls is not just strange. It's a locus of supernatural activity, a place where weirdness concentrates. There's a reason for this concentration, even if we don't know it yet. Stan has secrets. His mind, explored in Dreamscaperers, contains hidden areas. His past isn't what it seems. He knows more than he's saying. These threads set up Season 2's revelations. The foundation is laid carefully so that when the truth emerges, it feels earned rather than arbitrary. Season 2 opens with "Scary, okay?" and the tone shift is immediate. The government is investigating Gravity Falls. Agents are asking questions. The fun and games of Season 1 have attracted attention. Dipper, characteristically, sees opportunity. The agents might have answers. They might know about the journals, about the weirdness, about everything Dipper has been investigating. He wants to share what he knows. This impulse nearly destroys everything. When Dipper reveals the journal to the agents, he triggers a series of events that culminates in a zombie apocalypse at the Mystery Shack. His desire to be taken seriously, to have his investigations validated by authorities, backfires catastrophically. The episode teaches Dipper that some secrets need to stay secret, that sharing knowledge isn't always wise, that the people who seem like they should be trustworthy might be the most dangerous people to trust. Stan reinforces this lesson explicitly. He's furious at Dipper for revealing the journal. His anger isn't just about the immediate danger, it's about something deeper that we don't yet understand. Stan has reasons for secrecy that Dipper can't comprehend. The zombie attack itself is significant. For the first time, Dipper faces a threat that requires physical combat, not just knowledge. He has to fight. He has to act. Reading the journal isn't enough. The family survives through teamwork. They sing karaoke together, and the music destroys the zombies. It's absurd, but it's also meaningful. Connection defeats the threat. Family, sticking together, providing harmony, that's what saves them. Into the Bunker is one of the most important episodes for Dipper's development. He discovers a hidden bunker built by the author of the journals, and the investigation leads to revelations about both the author and himself. The bunker contains evidence of the author's research, experiments, preparations for something catastrophic. The author wasn't just documenting weirdness, they were preparing for a threat. But the episode's emotional core involves Wendy. They're trapped together in the bunker, facing a shapeshifter that can become anyone. And in the intensity of the situation, Dipper finally confesses his feelings. Wendy's response is gentle but clear. She's too old for him. She values him as a friend, genuinely values him, but romance isn't possible. Not now. Maybe not ever. This rejection could have been devastating. The show handles it beautifully. Wendy is kind. She doesn't mock Dipper or make him feel stupid. She acknowledges his feelings while being honest about her own. And Dipper accepts it. Not immediately, not without pain, but he accepts it. He doesn't become bitter. He doesn't lash out. He processes the rejection and decides that Wendy's friendship is worth preserving even without romantic possibility. This maturity is remarkable for a 12-year-old. It's character growth that many adults never achieve. Dipper learns that you can love someone, have that love not be returned in the way you want, and still maintain a meaningful relationship. The shapeshifter, meanwhile, provides crucial information. It warns Dipper not to trust the author. Before being frozen, it transforms into a horrible image that it claims represents Dipper's future self. These ominous notes complicate Dipper's quest. The author he's seeking might not be the hero Dipper imagines. The future might not be what Dipper hopes. The answers might be worse than the questions. The Golf War pits Mabel against her rival Pacifica Northwest in mini-golf. Dipper supports Mabel, helping her navigate the competition and eventually brokering peace when things get out of hand. For Dipper's arc, this episode reinforces his role as Mabel's ally. He's willing to put his own interests aside to help her. He understands that her struggles matter even when they seem trivial compared to supernatural mysteries. The episode also introduces more complexity to Pacifica's character, which will become relevant later. She's not just a bully, she's a product of her environment. Dipper begins to see past surface antagonism to the person underneath. Sock Opera brings Bill Cipher back, and this time, Dipper's resistance falters. Mabel is performing a puppet show and she needs Dipper's help. But Dipper is obsessed with decoding a laptop he found in the bunker, which contains the author's secrets. He can't focus on puppets when answers are within reach. Bill appears with an offer. He'll help Dipper access the laptop's password. All he wants in return is a puppet, just a puppet. What could be the harm? Dipper agrees. The puppet Bill wants, of course, is Dipper himself. Bill takes over Dipper's body, leaving Dipper's consciousness trapped in a puppet form. Bill, in Dipper's body, proceeds to wreak havoc, attempting to destroy the journal and end Dipper's investigation permanently. This episode is devastating for Dipper because he fails in exactly the way he feared. He made a deal with Bill. He traded something precious for answers. His obsession overrode his ethics. Mabel has to save him. She sacrifices her puppet show, the thing she'd worked so hard on, to rescue Dipper from his own mistake. She chooses him over her achievement, just as he's chosen her in previous episodes. The parallel is painful. Mabel's sacrifice highlights how selfish Dipper's deal was. He prioritized knowledge over his sister's needs. He forgot what matters. When Dipper is restored to his body, he's shaken. He crossed a line he swore he wouldn't cross. Bill manipulated him easily. The demon saw his weakness and exploited it. This failure haunts Dipper for the rest of the series. He can't fully trust himself anymore. If Bill could trick him once, it could happen again. The obsession that defines him is also his greatest vulnerability. Suze and the Real Girl focuses on Suze, but Dipper's supportive role continues his development as a loyal friend. He helps Suze navigate a dating simulation that becomes dangerously real, learning that love can't be programmed or controlled. Little Gift Shop of Horrors is another anthology episode. Dipper's segment involves him seeking a magical spell to improve his intellect, which transforms him into a creature of pure thought before his family saves him. The moral is clear. Intelligence without grounding, without connection, without body and emotion isn't desirable. Dipper's mind is his strength, but it's not his only strength. His relationships, his physical presence in the world, his emotional connections, all of these matter. This lesson counters Dipper's tendency to retreat into his head. Pure thought isn't the goal. Balance is the goal. He needs to be smart and connected, analytical and present. Society of the Blind Eye reveals a secret organization in Gravity Falls that erases people's memories of supernatural encounters. This group is responsible for the town's collective ignorance about the weirdness happening around them. For Dipper, discovering this society is enormous. It explains why no one acknowledges the obvious supernatural phenomena. It reveals active suppression of truth, and it connects to the journals. The author knew about this society, possibly was a victim of it. The episode also provides crucial backstory for Old Man McGucket, revealing him as a genius inventor who erased his own memories to escape trauma. McGucket, we learn, was the author's assistant. He worked on something terrible, and he chose to forget rather than live with the knowledge. This revelation is chilling for Dipper. Here's someone who had the answers Dipper craves, and that person found the truth so unbearable that he destroyed his own mind to escape it. What could be so terrible that forgetting is preferable to knowing? The episode suggests that Dipper's quest might lead somewhere he doesn't want to go. The answers might not bring peace. The truth might be worse than ignorance. But Dipper doesn't stop. He can't stop. His nature doesn't allow it. Blendin's game returns to the time traveler Blendin Blandin. The twins compete in gladiatorial time games to win a time wish, which Mabel wants to use to give Suze a happy birthday memory. Dipper supports this goal, putting Mabel's compassionate impulse ahead of more selfish possibilities. He could wish for anything: answers, power, Wendy's love. Instead, he helps Mabel give Suze a gift. This choice demonstrates growth. The Dipper of Season 1 might have prioritized his own desires. The Dipper of late Season 2 understands that some things matter more than his personal quests. The Love God involves a deity who can create and destroy romantic attraction. Dipper plays a minor role, but the episode explores the ethics of manipulating emotions, relevant to his earlier attempts to win Wendy through schemes rather than authenticity. Northwest Mansion Mystery features Dipper as the protagonist in a way that advances his relationships with both ghosts and Pacifica. The Northwest family hires Dipper to deal with a haunting in their mansion. Dipper agrees, partly for the challenge and partly because solving the mystery interests him. But as he investigates, he discovers that the ghost's vengeance is justified. The Northwests promised to open their mansion to the common people and broke that promise. The haunting is karma. Pacifica, forced to confront her family's sins, must choose between loyalty to her parents and doing the right thing. Dipper guides her toward the ethical choice, seeing past her privileged exterior to someone capable of growth. This episode shows Dipper at his best, using his knowledge not just to solve mysteries, but to promote justice. He's not just an investigator, he's a moral agent. His understanding of supernatural phenomena lets him see truths that others miss, and he uses that vision to help people become better. Pacifica opens the mansion doors. The ghost is satisfied, and Dipper has gained an unlikely ally. The spoiled rich girl who antagonized them throughout the series has become something more complex. Not what he seems is the turning point of the entire series. Everything changes. Stan is arrested by government agents. Evidence suggests he's not who he claims to be. A portal in the basement of the Mystery Shack, built over 30 years, is about to activate. And Dipper must choose: trust Stan or stop him. The episode reveals that Stan has been lying about his identity. He's not Stanford Pines. He's Stanley, Stanford's twin brother. The real Stanford has been trapped in another dimension for 30 years, and Stanley has been working to bring him back. But the agents say the portal could destroy the universe. They say Stan is dangerous. They present evidence that seems damning. Mabel trusts Stan despite everything. She presses the button to let the portal activate. Dipper hesitates. This hesitation is character-defining. Dipper's analytical nature makes him cautious. He weighs evidence. He considers consequences. Trust doesn't come easily to him, especially when the stakes are universal annihilation. In the end, Dipper doesn't stop Mabel. He doesn't fully trust Stan, but he trusts Mabel's judgment. And the portal opens. Out steps Stanford Pines, the author of the journals. The introduction of Stanford Pines is the most important moment in Dipper's arc because Ford represents everything Dipper wants to be. Ford is a genius. He has 12 PhDs. He spent his life investigating the supernatural, documenting anomalies, seeking understanding. He wrote the journals that changed Dipper's life. He's the original investigator, the first to map Gravity Falls mysteries. Ford is also alone. His obsession cost him his brother, his home, 30 years of his life. He trusted the wrong entity and paid a terrible price. He's brilliant but damaged, accomplished but isolated. For Dipper, meeting Ford is like meeting a future self, a version of himself who achieved everything he dreams of achieving. But also a version who suffered consequences that Dipper is only beginning to understand. A tale of two Stans fills in the backstory. Ford and Stan were close as children, dreaming of adventure together. But Ford's intellect took him to college, while Stan's con artistry got him thrown out of his home. A misunderstanding destroyed their relationship, and Ford disappeared into his research. Ford came to Gravity Falls because of its supernatural concentration. He investigated, documented, and eventually discovered Bill Cipher. Bill posed as a muse, a helpful entity who could unlock the mysteries of the universe. Ford trusted him. Ford built a portal that Bill could use to enter their dimension. McGucket tried to warn Ford. He saw what the portal was for, and when Ford wouldn't listen, McGucket erased his own memories rather than wait for catastrophe. Ford eventually realized Bill's true nature. He shut down the portal. But Bill wasn't finished. In a confrontation, Ford fell through the portal into dimensions unknown. Stan, called for help, accidentally activated the portal and spent 30 years trying to reverse the mistake. This backstory is essential for understanding Dipper's temptation. Ford made exactly the mistakes Dipper is prone to making. He trusted a supernatural entity who offered answers. He prioritized knowledge over relationships. He lost everything. Ford is both inspiration and warning. Dipper can see the path Ford took and must decide whether to follow it. Dungeons, dungeons, and more dungeons bonds Dipper and Ford over their shared love of games and puzzles. For the first time, Dipper has an intellectual equal in his family, someone who understands his interests, someone who takes him seriously. The validation Dipper feels is immense. His whole life, he's been the weird kid who thinks too much. Now here's an adult, a successful adult, who thinks the same way. Dipper isn't broken. He's just like Ford. But the episode also shows Ford's dismissiveness of Stan and Mabel's interests. Ford sees their preferences as inferior, their intelligence as limited. This arrogance isn't malicious, but it's real. Dipper has to navigate between his new hero and his existing family. He admires Ford, but can't abandon the people who loved him before Ford arrived. The Stanchurian candidate involves Stan running for mayor to protect the town from Gideon's manipulation. Dipper and Ford work together on campaign technology, deepening their bond. Ford gives Dipper a tie that allows mind control. The device is presented as helpful, but its implications are troubling. Ford casually hands over technology that could be abused. His ethics around power are more flexible than Dipper might have assumed. The last Mabelcorn reveals more about Ford's relationship with Bill. We learn that Bill can't enter a mind unless invited. Ford was tricked into inviting Bill in, and the connection persists. Bill can't easily access Ford's current mind because Ford has learned protections, but the history remains. The episode's emotional core involves Mabel trying to obtain unicorn hair for a protection spell. Her journey forces her to confront her own goodness. Is she truly pure of heart? Does she deserve to be protected? For Dipper, watching this subplot reinforces his own self-doubt. If Mabel, the kindest person he knows, questions her worthiness, what hope does he have? His deal with Bill in sock opera proves he's corruptible. He's not pure, he's compromised. The episode resolves with Mabel deciding that worthiness isn't about perfection. She's good enough. Her flaws don't disqualify her from protection or love. This resolution applies to Dipper too, though he may not fully internalize it. His mistake with Bill doesn't define him. He can still be heroic despite his failures. Roadside Attraction is a lighter episode where Stan takes the kids on a road trip. Dipper tries to move on from Wendy by flirting with other girls, with predictably awkward results. The episode's lesson is that you can't shortcut emotional healing. Dipper's attempt to quickly replace his feelings for Wendy doesn't work. He needs time. He needs to process. There's no hack for heartbreak. Dipper and Mabel versus the Future is the penultimate episode and the crisis point of Dipper's arc. Ford offers Dipper something incredible, an apprenticeship. Ford is leaving Gravity Falls to explore other anomalies, and he wants Dipper to come with him, to leave behind his normal life, to become a full-time investigator of the supernatural. This is everything Dipper has ever wanted. Recognition, purpose, a future that uses his abilities, a mentor who understands him, an escape from the mundane life that awaits him back in California. But accepting means leaving Mabel. The offer comes at the worst possible time. Mabel is already anxious about summer ending. She doesn't want to go back to their normal school, normal life, normal boredom. She's processing the loss of Gravity Falls, the end of the best summer of her life. And now Dipper is telling her that he might not come back with her, that he might stay, that their paths might diverge. Mabel is devastated. She feels abandoned. She runs away, vulnerable and hurting, and Bill Cipher finds her. Bill offers Mabel a deal. He can give her a place where summer never ends, a bubble of eternal happiness. All she has to do is give him a rift, a dimensional tear that Ford has been guarding. Mabel, not understanding what she's giving away, agrees. The rift opens. Bill's dimension, the nightmare realm, pours into Gravity Falls. Weirdmageddon begins. This catastrophe is Dipper's fault, at least partially. His acceptance of Ford's offer, his failure to consider Mabel's feelings, created the vulnerability that Bill exploited. If Dipper had prioritized his sister over his ambitions, she wouldn't have been alone, wouldn't have been susceptible. The lesson is brutal. Dipper's obsession with his future almost destroyed everyone's future. His self-focused pursuit of knowledge and recognition made him neglect the relationship that matters most. Weirdmageddon is the climax of everything the show has built. Bill Cipher rules Gravity Falls. Reality is warped. Monsters roam free. The apocalypse has arrived. Weirdmageddon Part 1 shows Dipper desperately trying to save Mabel and stop Bill. He's outmatched. Bill is essentially a god now, able to reshape reality at will. Dipper's journal, his source of power, is useless against an entity of this magnitude. The episode emphasizes Dipper's helplessness. All his knowledge, all his preparation, all his growth, none of it is enough. He can't fight Bill directly. He can't save Mabel through cleverness. He's just a kid against a cosmic entity. But Dipper doesn't give up. Even in impossible circumstances, he keeps trying. He rescues Wendy and Seuss. He forms a resistance. He refuses to accept defeat. This persistence is heroic in a way that transcends intelligence. Dipper isn't useful because he's smart right now. He's useful because he won't stop, because giving up isn't in his nature. Weirdmageddon Part 2, Escape from Reality, focuses on rescuing Mabel from her prison bubble. Inside the bubble, Mabel has everything she wants: endless summer, endless childhood, endless happiness. Dipper enters the bubble and finds a fantasy world where Mabel is happy and the real world's problems don't exist. He's offered a place in this fantasy. He could stay with Mabel forever, playing, never growing up, never facing consequences. The temptation is real. After everything that's happened, endless happiness sounds appealing. Dipper could just stop fighting, stop struggling, accept the illusion. But it's not real, and Dipper, for all his faults, can't accept unreality. The confrontation at the heart of this episode involves Dipper convincing Mabel to leave the bubble. He has to make her choose painful truth over pleasant illusion. He has to persuade her that the real world, with all its difficulties, is worth returning to. This is Dipper at his best, not solving a puzzle but reaching a person, using not his intelligence but his love. He knows Mabel, he knows what matters to her, he appeals to that. Mabel chooses reality. She leaves the bubble. The twins are reunited, but the conversation that happens next is equally important. Dipper and Mabel talk about Ford's offer. Dipper admits that he was going to accept. Mabel admits that she was terrified of losing him. And then Dipper makes a choice. He's not going to take Ford's offer. He's not going to abandon Mabel. They came to Gravity Falls together, and they'll leave together. This choice is the culmination of Dipper's arc. Throughout the series, he's been torn between his intellectual ambitions and his relationship with Mabel. He's been offered opportunities that would advance him personally while costing him connection. And now, finally, definitively, he chooses Mabel. He chooses his sister over his dreams, his relationship over his ambitions, his present over his potential future. This doesn't mean Dipper abandons his interests. He's still the same curious, analytical kid, but he's integrated his priorities. He understands that knowledge means nothing without people to share it with. That achievement means nothing without relationships to ground it. Ford's path led to loneliness and catastrophe. Dipper is choosing a different path. Weirdmageddon Part 3, Take Back the Falls, is the series finale, and it's the ultimate test of everything Dipper has learned. The Resistance attacks Bill's fortress. Dipper fights alongside his family and the people of Gravity Falls. The plan involves using a weaponized Zodiac, a ritual that requires specific people to work together. The Zodiac fails because Stan and Ford can't stop fighting long enough to complete it. Their lifelong resentment, their inability to trust each other, ruins the ritual. Bill captures everyone. The final confrontation comes down to the Stan twins, not the Pines twins. Ford offers to let Bill into his mind in exchange for the family's safety. Bill accepts. But it's a trick. Stan and Ford have switched clothes. Bill enters Stan's mind, not Ford's. And Ford uses a memory gun to erase Stan's mind entirely. Bill, trapped in Stan's mindscape, is erased along with all of Stan's memories. The sacrifice is devastating. Stan saves the world by losing himself. Everything that made him who he was is gone. For Dipper, watching this is traumatic. The great uncle who took them in, who protected them all summer, who fought for them, is effectively dead. Stan's body survives, but Stan is gone. Except he's not. Not completely. Mabel produces a scrapbook filled with the summer's memories. Photos, mementos, records of everything they experienced together. And slowly, triggered by these reminders, Stan's memories return. Love brings him back. Connection, the physical evidence of relationships, the finale reinforces everything Dipper has learned. Knowledge can be erased, power can be lost, but love endures. The scrapbook, Mabel's obsessive documentation of their summer together, saves Stan's soul. Dipper has spent the series pursuing knowledge while Mabel pursued connection. In the end, it was connection that mattered. It was love that won. The final scenes show the twins leaving Gravity Falls. Summer is over. They're going home. But they're not the same kids who arrived. Dipper has changed in ways that will shape the rest of his life. He's learned to balance his intellect with his heart. He's learned that relationships are more important than achievements. He's learned that growing up doesn't mean growing apart. He says goodbye to Wendy, who gives him a note saying she thinks he's one of the coolest people she's met. Not a romantic resolution, but something better: genuine respect and affection. He says goodbye to Ford, who tells him that he doesn't need an apprenticeship to be a great investigator. Dipper already is one. He says goodbye to Stan, who has recovered enough to be himself again. The gruff con man who loves his family more than he'll ever admit. And then Dipper and Mabel get on the bus home. Together, as it always should be. The show ends with the message that Dipper and Mabel's adventure continues. They're not done growing. They're not done exploring, but whatever comes next, they'll face it together. Now that we've traced Dipper's journey, let's analyze his key relationships in depth. Dipper and Mabel. The central relationship of the show, and arguably one of the best sibling portrayals in animation history. Dipper and Mabel are twins, but they're not interchangeable. Dipper is anxious, analytical, future-oriented. Mabel is optimistic, creative, present-focused. They complement each other perfectly. Their dynamic involves constant negotiation. Dipper wants to investigate. Mabel wants to socialize. Dipper plans. Mabel improvises. They pull each other in different directions, but the pulling creates balance rather than breakage. The show consistently tests their bond. Episodes force them to choose between each other and their individual desires. The time traveler's pig makes Dipper choose between impressing Wendy and preserving Mabel's happiness. He chooses Mabel. Sock opera makes Mabel choose between her puppet show and rescuing Dipper. She chooses Dipper. These choices build trust. By the time Weird Mageddon arrives, the twins have proven their commitment to each other repeatedly. Their bond is unbreakable because they've already tested it against every lesser challenge. The conflict in Dipper and Mabel versus the future is so devastating precisely because their bond seemed unbreakable. Dipper's consideration of Ford's offer threatens something the audience believed was secure. It's a betrayal, even if Dipper doesn't fully see it that way. His ultimate choice to stay with Mabel isn't just plot resolution, it's character completion. Dipper has internalized that his relationship with his sister matters more than his individual ambitions. He's not giving up his dreams, he's properly prioritizing them. Dipper and Stan Dipper's relationship with Stan evolves from dismissal to deep respect. Initially, Dipper sees Stan as an embarrassment, a con man, someone who represents the opposite of the truth-seeking Dipper values. Stan lies for a living. Dipper pursues truth. They seem incompatible, but Dipper gradually recognizes Stan's depths. The Dreamscape episode reveals Stan's inner life. The flashback episodes reveal his sacrifices. Dipper learns that Stan gave up his identity, his reputation, his life to save his brother. Stan's love for family isn't expressed through words or conventional affection. It's expressed through action. 30 years of working to save Ford. A summer of protecting the twins. A final sacrifice that costs him everything. Dipper learns from Stan that love isn't always articulate. Sometimes the people who seem gruff and distant care the most deeply. Sometimes sacrifice looks like stubbornness. By the finale, Dipper's respect for Stan is complete. He understands that the con man surface hid the most genuine person he's ever met. Dipper and Ford. This relationship is the most complex and potentially dangerous. Ford represents validation for Dipper, an adult who shares his interests, who takes him seriously, who sees his potential. Dipper has probably never felt so understood, but Ford is also a warning. His path led to isolation, exploitation, and catastrophe. His trust in Bill destroyed his life. His obsession with knowledge cost him his family. Dipper idolizes Ford without fully seeing these dangers. The apprenticeship offer is seductive because it feeds Dipper's ego without requiring him to confront Ford's failures. The show is careful not to villainize Ford. He's not malicious. He genuinely cares about Dipper, but his care is shaped by his own loneliness. He sees in Dipper a kindred spirit, someone who might understand him the way no one else has. Ford's offer is selfish, even if he doesn't realize it. He He's asking a 12-year-old to abandon his family for an uncertain life of monster hunting. He's projecting his own needs onto Dipper without considering what's actually best for Dipper. Dipper's rejection of the offer is healthy. He's not rejecting Ford or their connection. He's recognizing that Ford's path isn't his path. He can admire Ford while choosing differently. Their final conversation suggests a continued relationship. Dipper can still learn from Ford, can still value his mentorship, but it will be on Dipper's terms, integrated into a life that includes Mabel and family. Dipper and Wendy. The crush that teaches Dipper about unrequited love and mature acceptance. Dipper's feelings for Wendy are real and understandable. She's cool, attractive, kind to him. For a 12-year-old struggling with identity, Wendy represents everything desirable. But Wendy is 15. The age gap, small in absolute terms, is enormous at their developmental stages. Romance isn't appropriate, and the show never pretends otherwise. What makes this subplot exceptional is how it resolves. Wendy's rejection in Into the Bunker is gentle and respectful. She doesn't mock Dipper. She acknowledges his feelings while being honest about her own, and Dipper accepts it. He doesn't become bitter or resentful. He processes his disappointment and preserves the friendship. This maturity is remarkable and aspirational. The finale's note from Wendy, saying she thinks Dipper is cool, provides closure without romance. Their relationship is real and valuable, just not romantic. Dipper learned that you can love someone, not have that love returned the way you want, and still maintain something meaningful. Dipper and Bill Cipher, the antagonistic relationship that reveals Dipper's greatest weakness. Bill sees Dipper clearly. He sees the hunger for knowledge, the insecurity, the willingness to make deals. Bill knows exactly how to manipulate Dipper because Bill embodies the dark side of intellectual pursuit. Their first encounter establishes mutual recognition. Bill offers what Dipper wants. Dipper refuses, but the temptation lingers. Sock opera shows Bill succeeding where he previously failed. Dipper makes the deal. Bill wins. This failure haunts Dipper. He can't fully trust himself anymore. If Bill could manipulate him once, it could happen again. Dipper's defining trait, his need to understand, is also his vulnerability. The relationship with Bill forces Dipper to confront his shadow self. What happens when curiosity becomes obsession? When the pursuit of knowledge overrides ethics? Bill is the answer. You become exploitable. You become a tool for something that doesn't care about you. Dipper's ultimate contribution to defeating Bill isn't intellectual. He doesn't outsmart the demon. The plan that works comes from Stan and Ford. Dipper's role is supporting, loving, being present for his family. This feels right. Defeating Bill through cleverness would validate the intellectual approach that Bill exploited. Instead, Bill is defeated through love, sacrifice, connection. The things Dipper had to learn matter more than the things he already knew. Let's examine the deeper themes that Dipper's story explores. Growing up. The central question of the series is how to grow up without losing yourself. Dipper begins the summer wanting to be older. He's embarrassed by childish things. He wants Wendy to see him as mature. He tries to act older than he is. But the show consistently challenges this impulse. Episodes like Summerween suggest that abandoning childhood too quickly means losing something precious. Ford's lonely life demonstrates where premature maturity can lead. The answer the show proposes isn't to refuse growth. Dipper changes over the summer. He becomes braver, wiser, more capable. Growth is good, but growth should happen naturally, at its own pace, while maintaining connections to the people and things that matter. Rushing to adulthood means missing the journey. Staying connected while growing means bringing your loved ones with you. Dipper's final choice, staying with Mabel instead of leaping into adult adventure, embodies this theme. He's not refusing to grow up. He's refusing to grow up alone. He's refusing to abandon his childhood while he's still in it. Knowledge versus wisdom. Dipper is intelligent. He accumulates knowledge voraciously, but knowledge isn't the same as wisdom. The journal gives Dipper information. It doesn't teach him judgment. Knowing what a creature is doesn't tell you how to handle it. Knowing facts doesn't tell you what to do with them. Wisdom, the show suggests, comes from experience and relationship. Dipper gains wisdom by making mistakes and learning from them, by watching others and understanding their perspectives, by loving people and being accountable to them. Ford has enormous knowledge but limited wisdom. His intellect didn't prevent him from trusting Bill. His information didn't save his relationships. Stan has limited formal knowledge but substantial wisdom. He understands people. He knows what matters. His street smarts and emotional intelligence saved the world when Ford's brilliance couldn't. Dipper's arc involves learning that knowledge is a tool, not a destination. The goal isn't to know everything. The goal is to live well, which requires wisdom that transcends mere information. Trust and vulnerability. Who should you trust? When should you be vulnerable? These questions pervade the series. Dipper learns that trust requires discernment. Not everyone deserves it. Bill seemed trustworthy at first. The government agents seemed reliable. Surface appearances deceive. But refusing to trust anyone is equally dangerous. Stan's secrecy caused problems. Ford's isolation led to exploitation. Connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires trust. The answer the show proposes involves trusting people who have earned it through consistent action over time. The Pines family earns each other's trust through repeated choices. Dipper trusts Mabel because Mabel has proven trustworthy countless times. This trust isn't naive. Dipper doesn't trust blindly. He trusts specifically, based on evidence and history. He extends trust carefully and maintains it through reciprocity. Identity and self-discovery. Who is Dipper? The question drives his arc. He begins the summer uncertain about his identity. His nickname already represents reinvention, a choice to be Dipper rather than Mason. But what does being Dipper mean? Through the summer, Dipper discovers aspects of himself. He's brave, despite his fears. He's loyal, despite his selfishness. He's capable of growth, despite his rigidity. He also discovers aspects he must reject. The toxic masculinity of the Manitors, the isolated obsession of Ford's path, the easy answers of Bill's manipulation. Identity, the show suggests, is both discovered and constructed. Dipper finds out who he already is, but he also chooses who he wants to become. Nature and nurture combine into something new. By the finale, Dipper's identity is more stable. He knows his strengths and weaknesses. He knows what he values. He's not finished developing, but he has a foundation to build on. Family above all else. Gravity Falls is about family. The Pines family is imperfect. Stan is a con man. Ford is obsessive. The twins are children with all the limitations that implies. They fight, misunderstand each other, fail each other. But they also love each other, profoundly, unconditionally. When it matters, they show up. Stan spent 30 years saving his brother. Ford sacrificed himself to protect the family from Bill. Dipper chose Mabel over adventure. Mabel chose Dipper over fantasy. The show argues that family isn't about perfection. It's about commitment, about choosing each other despite flaws, about showing up when it counts. Dipper learns this lesson deeply. His intellectual pursuits matter, but they don't matter more than family. His future matters, but not more than his present relationships. Nothing he could achieve alone would be worth what he'd lose. What is Dipper's legacy in animation and popular culture? A new kind of protagonist. Dipper challenged conventions about children's animation protagonists. He's not particularly brave in the physical sense. He's anxious, overthinking, sometimes cowardly. Traditional heroes charge into danger. Dipper creates elaborate plans to avoid danger while still solving problems. His intelligence is his superpower, but the show doesn't present intelligence as sufficient. Dipper needs help. He needs his family. He can't succeed alone. This model influenced subsequent animated protagonists. Characters like Luz Noceda from The Owl House or Anne Boonchi from Amphibia share DNA with Dipper. Smart but flawed, capable but limited, growing through relationship rather than isolation. Earned emotional moments. Gravity Falls demonstrated that children's animation could earn genuine emotional weight. The finale's impact comes from investment built over 2 seasons. We've watched Dipper grow. We've seen his relationships develop. When he chooses Mabel, it means something because we understand what he's giving up. This approach influenced the medium. Shows learned that taking time to develop characters pays dividends in emotional impact. The era of purely episodic children's animation shifted towards serialization, partly because Gravity Falls proved it worked. Complexity in children's media. Dipper's flaws are real and consequential. His deal with Bill causes problems. His obsession hurts people. His selfishness has costs. But the show doesn't condemn him for these flaws. It shows him learning from them. It treats mistakes as opportunities for growth rather than permanent condemnations. This nuance respects young audiences. It trusts them to understand that heroes can be flawed, that good people can make bad choices, that growth is possible after failure. The mystery format. Gravity Falls helped popularize the mystery box format in animation. The slow revelation of the author's identity, the accumulation of clues, the eventual payoff, all of this influenced how subsequent shows told stories. Dipper, as the audience's investigative surrogate, made this format work. We discovered things when he discovered them. His curiosity drove the plot forward. Shows like Amphibia, The Owl House, and Infinity Train adopted similar structures, trusting audiences to follow complex mysteries while also investing in character development. As we come to the end of this journey, let's reflect on what Dipper Pines means. He's a character who wanted answers and learned that questions matter more. Who sought knowledge and discovered wisdom. Who pursued independence and found that interdependence is stronger. His story is about growing up without growing apart, about staying curious while staying connected, about pursuing your passions without losing your people. For viewers who identified with Dipper, who shared his intellectual curiosity and social anxiety and desperate need to understand, his arc offers hope. You can be yourself and still belong. You can be smart and still be loved. You can want answers and still value relationships. His mistakes offer comfort too. He made bad choices. He trusted the wrong entity. He prioritized his ambitions over his relationships, and he recovered. He learned. He became better. None of us are finished becoming who we'll be. Dipper's story reminds us that growth is possible at any point, that the mistakes of today don't define the person of tomorrow, that choosing differently is always an option. The final image of Dipper on the bus, heading home with Mabel, is both an ending and a beginning. The summer is over, the adventure is complete, but life continues. Whatever comes next, they'll face it together. That's the promise Gravity Falls makes and keeps. Connection endures, love persists, family remains. Thank you for joining me on this complete exploration of Dipper Pines. I hope it's given you something to think about, something to feel, something to carry with you. Now rest. Let the mysteries of Gravity Falls fade into comfortable darkness. Let Dipper's journey settle into your subconscious. And remember, in a world full of secrets, the most important truth is simple. The people you love are worth more than any answer you could find. Good night, everyone. See you next time on Pine Hat.